Nicole. I just wanted to start my video first by saying that I thought you did a really great job with your analysis of all these problems and with your video post. For the most part, we came up with the same answers, which I think is great. Our analysis on how we got there was a little bit different, so I just thought I'd go through that and then go to part D. So for 420A, I completely agree with you that both the check and promissory note are both perfected. In your response, you talked about how the check will need to be perfected in another way to further perfect the security interest. And from my understanding, I think that based on section 9315D part 2, which says that if the proceeds are identifiable cash proceeds, a secure party perfected in the original collateral remains perfected beyond the 20-day period, that National Bank doesn't need to do anything else to further perfect their interest. I think that their interest will automatically remain perfected because the check is considered cash proceeds. Then for the promissory note, I think that would also be perfected beyond the 20-day period under section 9315D subpart 1, because the security interest in the original collateral was perfected by the filing of a financing statement. A security interest in the proceeds can be perfected by filing a financing statement in the same office in which the because the security interest in the original collateral was perfected by the filing of a financing statement, a security interest in the proceeds can be perfected by filing a financing statement in the same office in which the financing statement covering the original collateral was filed, and the proceeds were not acquired with cash proceeds. So based on that rule, the promissory note meets all of those subparts and requirements, so I believe that it would be perfected beyond that 20-day period because of that. For Part B, I agree with your answer as well. I don't believe that the checking account will be perfected either. But I did want to mention that I think you brought up a great point that I completely failed to mention in my analysis and answer overall, which was that there would be other money commingled into that fund, and that's why the checking account won't be considered perfected, the entirety of it, and how that overall just affects the perfection of that interest. I just talked about how, based on the description of collateral and the type of collateral, it wouldn't be perfected, but I think that your analysis was much more on point than what mine was. For Part C, 1 and 2, I agree with your answers. We came to the same conclusion again. For the computer, I don't think that it would be continued to be perfected because the computer is considered equipment and the original financing statement only covers inventory. So I think that in order to continue that perfection, National Bank would have to do something else, such as amend its financing statement to cover equipment or to take possession of the equipment under 9315D subpart 1. I do agree with you and your analysis that the new parts would be perfected because they're considered inventory and the original financing statement covers inventory, so it should be all good there. And then moving on to the last part, which is 420D1. I think that the analysis for Part C changes by specifying all assets because Section 9315D Part 3 would now be applicable, and the computer's identifiable proceeds of inventory. So even though it wouldn't be perfected under like D2, because it's obviously not cash proceeds, and it wouldn't be considered perfected under Section 9315D1, because the proceeds were obviously acquired with cash proceeds, I think that it would fall under the exception for 9315D3, and with that addition to the financing statement. I think that the new parts the analysis doesn't change. I think that they'd still be able to perfect as previously concluded under the analysis of Part C. For Part D2, my analysis under C would not change. I think it's already a given that proceeds thereof, as long as they're identifiable, will be considered perfected as long as they meet the rules under 9315. So I don't see how that makes a difference. I mean, they still have to either be cash proceeds, and if they're not cash proceeds, then they have to meet the 3 requirements under 9315 D1, and if they don't, just because they're proceeds doesn't mean that the perfection can continue. So yeah, that's what I got. Thanks.